Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the launch of Senstar Safe Spaces. My name is Jeremy Weiss. I'm CEO of Senstar, or COO, sorry. Have been with the company for 20 years. Joining me today is Tom Hoffer, who's product manager for Safe Spaces. Tom, tell everyone a bit about yourself.
Yeah, good morning. I'm with the company since 2005. I've worked a lot with VMS Analytics, and I'm really proud to present our new solution that hopefully will help you.
Thanks, Tom. For those who don't know yet, and you'll find out during this presentation, Senstar Safe Spaces is an agnostic solution, designed to help any business stay in business and be able to work during these COVID times, and being able to manage any of the regulations and the rules and have a way to monitor your environment. So Tom will go into deeper detail during the presentation. You'll find a series of polls in the sidebar that you can answer throughout the presentation. Also, you can post questions, which we'll answer at the conclusion of the event. So Tom, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you. Okay, so as Jeremy was mentioning, today we talk about Senstar Safe Spaces, which is hosted on the Edge platform. So what does that mean? You see here we have the introduction of 4 different analytic solutions, which is called the face mask detection, the physical distancing, the occupancy counting, and the hand sanitization. So why are we doing this? So if you look at the current situation of the pandemic, that started roughly, really came into effect in March, 9 months ago. And it started last year, end of last year, but we had the pandemic cases in Europe, in North America, in Africa, everywhere in Asia, everywhere around the globe. And the cases are currently rising again. So what can you do to follow the policies that you currently have in place to open up your business? So we came up with the idea, what are the current things you have to usually follow, the rules. Depending on the area where you are, you have to have a face mask in the inside, outside, or where you are. You have to physical distance from each other. You have to wash your hands or sanitize your hands. And you have to make sure that you follow the occupancy limits that are in place for your environment. So how do you do this? Basically, we came up with this small device, and you can see this is really small. It's not just big hands. So it's a small device that can host up to 6 channels. And on there, we have the analytics running, and you can set up your rules. So today, we are announcing that it's available, and you can start using it, applying it into your facilities. So about 6 months ago, we talked about the plans, or 5 months ago, and now it's available today, and you can start using it. So what does it mean for you? If you have an existing solution, you have your cameras deployed, you have your cameras, your VMS, everything is deployed. This is a solution you can just drop in and use it with whatever you have. So it's agnostic to what you're using right now. It's working with ONVIF and has ONVIF alerts. It's a standalone as well. If you say you don't have anything and you just want to use cameras, you use ONVIF cameras, you connect them up to 6 cameras, and you're good to go. It's web-based, so you have your initial setup. Once it's done, you have a web configuration, and you can just configure the 6 cameras, 6 streams, and you're good to go. So it's ONVIF compliant. It's basic ONVIF, so it's not S or T yet, but this is something that will come very shortly. But basic ONVIF events, dynamic events are available, so you have the alert everywhere you want it, and it works with ONVIF cameras. So the big thing what we wanted to do is ensure you don't have to replace existing cameras. You don't have to replace anything existing. You just add it on to your existing environment. So the all-in-one solution is, the idea is, if you look on the market today, you have hand sanitization is out there. You have face mask detection. So different vendors that have different solutions. But the unique thing that we want to do is we want to have all-in-one. So this is really one of the differentiators that we think we have here, is that you have the complete solution in one device, and you can run up to 18 instances of analytics. So that sounds confusing. I only have 6 cameras, 18 analytics, and I will go more into detail as we continue here. So here is a sample of face mask detection. So what happens is you have a crowd or you have a single entrance, and you just start detecting, and it will alert when there's a person without a mask. So people go through, we detect faces, we detect masks. If it's okay, it will be green. If it's not okay, eventually we'll go red and say, okay, this person doesn't wear a mask, once we have the confidence that there's no mask. So very simple and very common, but you can just turn it on with an existing stream, so very easy to use. Then physical distancing. So this is very interesting. We deployed this with some customers, and the feedback that we originally got is, as you can see here in the video, as soon as two people get too close to each other, we alert. So this was our idea is, okay, this is what we want, because physical distancing means if I'm too close to one other person. So some customers came back and said, okay, I have a lot of couples coming into my store, and we can't prevent couples from entering together. So I get a lot of false alerts. So we said, okay, we make a rule that allows you to say, I want to have physical distancing only if it's 3 people that are within the physical distance. So if it's a couple, it won't alert. So this is something that you can adjust in the rule engine, because we realized, okay, there's a lot of false alarms, so we had to change it. And you can adjust it depending to your needs. Supposedly, everyone has to do physical distancing inside in the store, but if you live together, you don't. How do you do the analytics? And that's why we came up with this solution. Another challenge was, how can you do hand sanitization monitoring? So how can you ensure that today you have a person that comes into a store or comes into a facility and it alerts? So basically what happens is, so here you see the person comes, go through, didn't take their time to wash their hands. Now the person is there and they're hand sanitizing. So if it's at least 20 seconds in the sample, then it should be an alert. It shouldn't be an alert. If it's less than 20 seconds, like just walking through, it's an alert. So here basically we say we have to at least dwell or loiter, same thing, for at least X seconds. In this case, it's 20 seconds. And if they do that, it's not an alarm. So this can be a challenge sometimes, but it depends on the environment that you can use it or not. And it can be very useful. So here I have an occupancy counting. So basically it means I have one or more cameras that just count people going in and out. And on the right bottom of the screen, this is kind of a splash screen that's just put in here. So you have 2 people coming in. And this screen can be displayed on any HTML browser. So you take that screen, you put it on the entrance, and you say, okay, I have here just a smart TV or a tablet or whatever you want. And you just display how many people are inside the store. And this is what we call occupancy monitoring or aggregated people counting. So what it means is you can have 1 camera to count, or you can have 3 cameras, depending on how many entrances you have. You aggregate all the cameras together into one aggregate and add them together, and you have 1 count. So if your store allows 10 people, like in this sample, you set it to 10. If it's different, you can set it up to 15. And I will show that shortly, how you can just set it up for different environment with different people. So now we go into a live demo. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask them, and Jeremy will go through them. And probably at the end, we will just put them out in public, announce them, and then we will answer them. So here you see I have my setup for my cameras, and I have here, in this case, 5 cameras configured, all different cameras, different ONVIF configuration, different models, different resolutions, and then I set up the FPS that I want to analyze and analytics. So in the beginning, I said you could potentially have up to 18 analytics running on a camera or in the total environment. So what did I mean with that? So if I go here and say now, for example, I want to switch this camera from face mask to social distancing, it will tell me I cannot do that because face mask is currently being used in a rule. So we have some mechanism to make sure you can do what you're supposed to do. If I go, for example, to the rule here, and I just delete this rule here, and you see how easy it is to just go through the camera setup and do different things, and how you can configure the whole system. So you add the camera, username and password, and then you say a name for it, and you're pretty much finished. And then you can say which cameras should have which analytics running. So I mentioned 18. So if I have 6 cameras, and on each camera I've used the social distancing, the people counting, and the hand sanitization, means I can here have 3 engines running on 1 camera. So if I have 6 cameras, it means 18. However, the one restriction that we have per unit, I can only run 2 face masks based on the GPU consumption of the engine. So we have a limit of only 2 face masks per device. So it means if I have 2 cameras with 2 face masks, I could have potentially 4 other cameras, each with 3, so 12. So 14 in total. Or if I don't need face mask, I can have 18. So it really depends on what you want. And as I said, you configure your cameras, you can have multiple or only one, depending how you need it. You can create views. So on the device itself, and I hope you can see that here, I will show it to you. But basically in the back, it has an HDMI output. And on the HDMI, you can have a monitor connected and you can configure different displays. So I can potentially go in here and say I have a view where I have on the left top social distancing, here my people coming, here my face mask camera, here my hand sanitization main corridor. So you can create your views and then you can display them directly on the unit. Or you just use a web browser and connect to it and have the alarm messages connected somewhere. Or you can go in here and you can have all the alarms from today. And if there are alarms from today, then they would show up here. So I can generate an alarm and they would come up here. So all the alarms that would be in here. So very easy to use. And you can have additional settings here that I will just go through quickly. So in alarm notifications, I can set up different events. So here I have email or audio. So I can set up email and audio to make sure that I can have alarm notifications to people, or I can have email sent to people. Audio means I have an IP speaker, for example, and the IP speaker itself, I upload a media file. And then on the media file itself, I can go in and say, this is the media file I want to use for a specific event. So how can I do this? If I go into a rule and say, for example, I have here a face mask rule. And if I just go into the rule, I say here, I have a face mask missing in an area. How many seconds before you have the alarm? And what is the confidence that I don't wear a mask? So what should happen is send an email to me. And if I have an audio configured, it will say, please put on your mask or whatever you want. And why do we do this? We want to prevent that your employees will get into a situation where they have to face customers that are not obeying the rules that you have in place. So very easy to set up, nice user interface, and very user-friendly, I think. So if you get the unit, you go through the initial setup, set up your IP address, your username and password, and then you connect it, and you can all do right here in the interface. And you can monitor it as well. Okay, let's go back here. So here you see how you can deploy it. If you have, for example, an environment that you want to set it up, the analytics that we currently have on the box are for indoor environment. So that means you shouldn't be using them outdoor because we haven't really tested outdoor. So until we have that, we will not say anything about it. So we may have to retrain engines and we will see how that works. But right now it's all for indoor. Why do we do it? We want to make sure you can augment safety protocols. So you want to obey the policies in place for your country, for your region, for your store, whatever it is that you have to, but this should help you. Stay open, keep business open. And in this case, you see we have flow and density of people is controlled. So what does that mean? It means I can say here, you're close to the capacity of your store. In this case, I can say, when is this alert, this warning alert coming, and when is the real alarm coming? So I can set it up to say, I want to have a warning at 15 people. At 20 people, I tell here on the screen, okay, I'm at the limit, stop. And at 22, potentially you could say, I want to have an alert sent, email to me, or a message sent. And what does it mean? Like I said, 6 streams per device. You can combine multiple analytics at the same time. So you could run up to 18, but you have a maximum of 2 face analytics per platform. So what are kind of the day-to-day use cases that we've seen and that we've tried to fulfill here? So if you have a manufacturing or food processing environment, for example, And you have, in this case, your 5 cameras. And let me get my pointer here to make it a little bit easier. So you have here a camera for occupancy counting. So you want to count how many people come in and out. Same here. You want to focus on how many people come in and out. So what you want to make sure is in this room, you never have more than X people. So you aggregate those 2 cameras into one aggregate, and you can display, okay, now you've reached limit. Then when they enter from the street, you want to make sure people are wearing their masks. So here you have a face mask detection camera facing the people that come in, making sure they're wearing their mask. And you have 2 cameras for hand sanitization. So that means you want to make sure that people are staying along enough time in the specific places to wash their hands. So what does that mean for the calculation? We have 2 occupancy counting, which aggregate to 1. We have 1 face mask detection and 2 hand sanitation. So that means we have 5 engines in total, so I need 1 unit. Fairly simple and easy to go through. Another use case could be a retail environment. So what do you usually have in retail? You have definitely occupancy counting or aggregated people counting. So that means I have here my camera that counts people coming in and out of this entrance or exit. Then another camera here monitoring this entrance or exit. Another camera here for this entrance and exit. And I can just go and aggregate all 3 cameras into one aggregate and ensure how many people do I have inside the whole store at any time. So this is the main thing. Then I have here a face mask detection. I have here a face mask detection and here. And I have hand sanitization. So what does that mean? In this case, first of all, I would have to add this camera twice because I can't run face mask at the same time. So it means this would count double in this case. And I have 3 face masks. So in total, I have 10 engines, and I said I can run 18. However, I have 2 face masks, and I have to add 2 streams, which would bring it to 12. So the total that I need here, just only because I have 3 face masks, is I need 2 platforms running here. So this is very important. Depending on what I have to do, I have to make sure I put it in the right place. And I actually see I have 3 cameras that I have to split up, so it would be a total of 13 because I can't run face mask and hand sanitization at the same time. Also for hand sanitization, you would probably have a different camera just based on how you would set it up, because for hand sanitization, you want to make sure you have a view of the full body, and face mask is probably not the full body. You want to make sure you see the face. Then you have here an environment for a restaurant, cafeteria, a common area environment where you have people sitting down and relaxing. So what is important there? One thing is, again, occupancy counting, which you need anywhere today. Then you need hand sanitization and you need physical distancing. So when people come in, you want to make sure they wash their hands. So here they come in, you count in, and here you count out. When you set up the engine, we don't really care if you have in or out. You just say in which direction is in. So if somebody would actually come in through the exit, we would still count them as in. So there's no worry there. And then here you have your hand sanitization, where you count how long is someone washing their hands. And you have here physical distancing. So you want to monitor your areas where people sit down. So in this case, you need 2 occupancy, 1 hand sanitization, 3 physical distancing is a total of 6. So you can do this with 1 platform, 1 unit, that's all. And you're good to go. So again, it's very easy to set up the whole environment. It's easy to use, and it's ready to go as soon as you get the device. So one of the things that also a lot of people ask said, okay, what happens with the unit after? So what happens if I have here these cameras and in a year from now, hopefully, we can ignore those policies or hopefully ignore them. And what can I do with the device? So one of the things that we wanted to make sure is that this device has also use after. We have plans to add other analytics that you use today and can add them on the device itself. So we want to add more and more analytics to it, and we will have different analytics that you can use in the day-to-day use after COVID-19, after the pandemic is over, which I think we all hope that it will be over very soon. But we probably have to live with it for a while, and there's this new today and that we live in, and we have to prevent and keep the policies in place. But even after, you can use the device for other things. So that is the very important message. And then what is important is it's available today. You can get it anywhere. For the price right now is $1,990 US. If you're in a different region, feel free to reach out to your regional salespeople from Senstar, and they can give you the local pricing. And if you want more information, feel free to go to the website here, senstarsafespaces.com. And there will be a pop-up in the chat that you can follow the link if you want to. So you can go to the website right now. You can go through the overview, the features, and the setup. And you can go into contact. You can reach out to us, and we can follow up with you with any questions that you may have. So I will now minimize the presentation so I can show the device itself. So as I was mentioning to you earlier, so this is the device. It's very small. As you can see, you have here HDMI for USB cables, a PoE port, and here's your power connection. And when you get the power supply, it comes with plugs for the different regions, so it's very easy to use. And like I said, it's very small, so it's easy to deploy. The only thing that you may want to consider when you deploy the unit is it can get fairly warm. So you probably don't want to touch it, and you want to put it in an environment where nobody has to touch it, or that it might be temperature regulated, because it can go up to, like, from our test, 60 degrees, which is like 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So 60 degrees Celsius or 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And now let's look at the questions that we may have. Jeremy, you want to come back on stage?
I've been handling many of the questions throughout the presentation that are coming in through the chat window. We can go over some of those just for those who may not have been watching the chat window. I'm sure they are shared by others. So what is the device supporting all brands of camera? And as you mentioned in your presentation, any camera which properly supports the ONVIF profile can be used with the Safe Spaces appliance. Similarly, there was a question that says the upstream device or the VMS, will it work with Symphony? Yes, it'll work with Symphony, but also it'll work with any VMS that, again, also properly supports ONVIF and can take those ONVIF alarm messages from the device. So it's agnostic. It doesn't care what's downstream or what's upstream, as long as those devices are, supporting the full ONVIF profile, which means they're quality cameras, not ultra cheap cameras that have a pseudo support of the profile. We had, does the device count people and combine the count from multiple cameras? As you mentioned in the example, it does aggregate counts. So if you have a room in a facility, or if it's a retail store with multiple points of entry and you want to control the population or the number of people in that setting, the cameras over each door do their individual counts. The device will aggregate those and drive the rule based on total occupancy in and out to provide those warnings as you showed, which would either be on a smart TV or a web page. Can it run different analytics simultaneously? Again, as you gave the example, up to 18 simultaneous analytics. There is some limitation that you can only run 2 face mask analytics concurrently on the device, but the social distancing, counting, and hand sanitization, you can run on the 6 available streams, all 3 of those concurrently for a total of 18. So it's a bit of a mix and match of what you can run on which streams. There was a question of how many devices will it support? Again, cameras. It's 6 video streams or channels. It could be the same camera for whatever reason using 2 streams, or it could be 6 individual streams. Again, it's about knowing the ecosystem you're trying to install in and then mixing and matching what is available there. Which hardware do you have in this device? There is magic hardware. No, seriously, there is a GPU-based processor in there, and that's what allows you to be able to provide so much functionality in compact form factor. Yeah, there are future plans to include physical distancing analytics directly in Symphony. That's a different roadmap discussion, something we're looking at, and stay tuned for announcements on this.
How to interface to Symphony. So as Jeremy mentioned, this is an ONVIF device. So you just connect through ONVIF from Symphony and it will automatically pick up all the channels. So it's like an encoder.
Tom, what are the contents of the alarm email? You're getting a message saying that one of the rules triggered. Is there a picture of the event in that, or is that in the next release or future?
The picture, the last time I checked, it was in there, but we just modified it because of the problem is we have to check with GDPR if we're allowed to send the picture outside of the unit. So I think it's still there, but we may have to remove it based on GDPR compliance.
What we will likely end up doing is making that an option that puts the onus upon whoever the integrator or the installer is to know what the local requirements are and ensure you are in compliance with any privacy laws. The functionality is available, but as we're all learning to navigate the new privacy standards, it's still unknown what you are and are not allowed. Chat, what else do we have? Will there be support for human temperature detection in the future? At this point, if you have a thermal camera, which generates alarm messages over ONVIF, including the temperature, etc., that can be pushed through the unit. We aren't measuring temperatures at this point. And is it possible to integrate with customized application? Do we provide a SDK or API?
So we have an API for it that you can use today. So this is already available.
I think that covers the majority of the questions. If I missed something, feel free to push it through again. Also, if you could take a moment to answer the polls, we'd appreciate the feedback. It helps us guide our product direction in the future and just understand what rules and laws people are facing locally. We don't know who responds to these polls. It's just an aggregated data that gives us a bit of a weather vane on how the market is working through this.
Okay, so you also have on our website, on the senstarsafespaces.com, you have contact. So feel free to reach out to us with follow-up questions. If you have any questions, we're here for you. If you need something, if you have ideas, if you have concerns, everything you want, feel free to reach out to us. We will make sure it goes to the right channel. And if you have local questions, regional questions, then we will make sure one of our regional sales managers will reach out to you. We'll get back to you.
One last question just popped in, Tom, and it was, is there a database application in the device if the customer wants to pull the data for dashboard reporting, i.e. using Power BI? I think at this point it's reporting from the dashboard included in the device, but no way to access that database directly, correct?
So we have no access to a database. There's actually two databases inside. One is, both of them are not accessible from the outside at this point. Dashboards and reports will be available in the next version. So this is already something we are planning on doing. It will come. If there's a need for it, we can probably see how we could potentially open it up. But right now, they're not accessible from the outside. So it would be a security threat. So we would have to make sure that it's secured enough that when you access it from the outside, that you can get to it.
Great. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's it. It sums up all the questions. So yeah, go ahead and close. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you much, everyone, for joining today. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. through any channel that you're aware of or directly through the website, and we are here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.